Hi everyone, we're here to talk about the SagaBorn role-playing game today. I'm Mike Bielaczyc, and
I'm Brian Cooksey. We're the designers of the system.
so we're just going to give some basic information on what made us create this game.
And what actually did make you create this game, Mike, since you kind of started the whole thing?
You were right there when it happened. It was Gen Con a year and a half ago? A year and a half ago. I've been making Pathfinder books for quite a while for the World of Euteria adventure set, and I was getting really worn out on all the rule changes with Pathfinder, trying to keep up with all their new books, and I thought, man, if I just had a simple system that we could base all these stories in, then my life would be so much simpler. And I went over to you and I said, hey, Brian, we should make a system. And you said, yes, let's do it.
That was pretty much how it worked. And it was originally specifically for this system, this really great setting, actually, that Mike came up with. And we talked about it over a couple of beers, and it just kind of grew out of that. So it's got some really cool stuff. It's a really simplified D20 system since it grew out of Pathfinder. What kind of stuff has it got that was specific for the setting? We did a.
Well, I think the main thing that we did is we took rules that are already out there and we simplified them. I always hated the minute that you have to open up a book and say, how do we keep this game going? Oh, well, to do this, we have to roll this die and look at this chart. And so I think we cut out a whole lot of that with things like the heroic action, which takes out all those strange different rule sets for like grappling or bull rushing or, like all those things, or I want to grab the elfling and throw him up on the balcony. How does that happen? And the heroic action covers all of that.
Pretty much anything that's not covered by a specific other rule, if it's something really cool that a character wants to do, you assign a heroic action to it.
Yeah,
right?
I think the definition is anything that's heroic that's not combat. Because then combat's the D20,
right.
Roll against armor class. Everything else is a heroic action.
That makes sense. And like I said, we came up with it specifically for this setting, which we can talk about a little more later. But what's great about this is it's a really simplified system, so it can be applied to some other things. And I know it's already been played with a science fiction setting. Is that right?
Yep. We're looking at doing a lot of stuff with this. We work in the Dark Return setting, but we also want to do a sci-fi version called StarBorn and a cyberpunk version called ScyberBorn.
Which I am so there for, yeah.
Brian was very excited when I thought of that. But we also want you working on SagaBorn Basic, right?
True. And that is literally just the core of the system, with all the setting stuff stripped away. It is, that way you can take it and see exactly how the mechanics work, and then once you've got the mechanics, we'll have some suggestions in there for how to apply it to other things, and then you can stick it on any kind of game you want, because again, it's really simplified D20, and D20 has already been used for a bunch of stuff, superheroes, Star Wars for that matter.
Right, yeah, so it makes it, we can be simple because people are sort of already used to it.
It does help. If you can play any form of D&D or Pathfinder, you're 80% of the way there. So that's actually one of my favorite things about it, is most role players already speak the language. We've run it for a lot of people that had not played SagaBorn before, but they'd played D&D, and within 5 minutes they understood the differences. So it was pretty easy to get going. So yeah, you said mostly we had some other, we've talked about some other things, but really I think the cyberpunk thing is the next one we're going to do anything serious with.
Yeah, cyberpunk and the sci-fi, but cyberpunk I think is our...
Oh, I wanted to do that.
Yes, top tier. So the other thing I want to touch on is sort of our background and why we got into gaming or writing a gaming book. So we'll start with you, Brian. What made you want to write a gaming book?
Well, partly you asked me, but secondly, it was a lot of the same reasons that you asked me to do it in the first place. There had been, I've been role-playing since 1982, and I dabbled in a few systems here and there, but in this case, it was the chance to write something that fit a specific system, because my favorite games are games that do a specific thing. And in this case, this system really fits the setting, and the magic system, which is completely different from any other D&D magic system, is specifically unique to this setting, which I think is really cool. Because if you're doing fantasy, a lot of what differentiates one fantasy world from another is your magic system, whether that's a novel or the actual mechanics you have to roll in a game.
Yeah, I think that was another big simplification that we made in this book is going from a memorization-based system that D20 has to a you can know any spell that you want and you just have this amount of mana or magic power to power them, which once again just cut out so much of that, excess, looking like how many spells can I memorize, how much, how many can I spend today and so on, and just like saying, and we have things like mana tokens, so it's like, okay, I've got 10 mana tokens when I wake up, I got 10 mana to spend. It's really easy to keep up with. So.
Right, you know what you've got your list of spells, and we actually, not that they are required, but we have these handy cards with the spells on them, which is my favorite thing. Not that that's unique to this, but I've always liked having cards with my stuff. It's easier for me to figure out what I've got than it is going through a character sheet. So I really like that. And also, if I've got a spell that I can't cast anymore that day, I can put it off to the side, or if I get a new one, easy to switch out. So I like that part too.
Awesome. Well, I think we're trying to keep this video just short and to the point. So the last question we'll have is, where do you see us going with the system from here? What would you like to see?
Man, I can't.
Besides Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Well, we've already talked about the Cyberpunk thing. Honestly, we can adapt it to just about anything. I would like to do sort of a pulp adventure kind of thing, sort of a Indiana Jones, Ellen Quatermain kind of deal. Mm-hmm. Because it fits really well. Some of those could have magic, some of them don't necessarily, but either way, I like the way that would work. That would be a fun setting to do some stuff in. Do you have any other ideas?
I wanted to go down the route of helping game masters storytell. I want to put out some like game master tomes that sort of talk about like optional rules, things that you can do with your players to get them more invested in the game. And also a big thing for me is I wanted to do social dice rules.
Oh, right.
So I love the strategy of battles, but I'm not a big fan of going around and being a murder hobo everywhere you go and killing everything you see. So I was thinking, how can we move dice into non-combat situations? So we've got some like super alpha rules right now for social interactions where it can sort of throw some strategy in the mix, and there'll still be as much role-playing at the table, but it's when you're convincing that person, like, is the guard going to listen to you? Well, here's a way to throw some random dice in, and it makes it strategic, a little bit like battle too. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to.
I like that a lot because I'm not as strong as my fighter, and I might not be as charismatic as my bard. But my bard can convince people of stuff that I don't necessarily have the ability to think of. So if I could throw some dice or actually use my stats along with that, I think that helps a lot.
Yep. That's our short video on what is SagaBorn, and we hope you guys download the beta book, check it out, tell us what you think, and find us on Kickstarter. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Keep adventuring.